In this video, we have two low budget cams we're going to look at. We got the Stealth P12, we got the Apeman H45, both low budget cams that will still work for you today. We're going to break it down in this video, so stay with us. Alright, we are here to break down the difference between the Stealth P12 and the Aprman H45. These cameras have both been around with us for a couple of years now. You may have one, you may know some that have had them. These are considered low budget cameras. They are limited on what they can do. These are the old-fashioned, slap a card in, go out and check them ever so often. But these are both, in my opinion, great dependable cameras that you can depend on to give you good quality photos and videos that you can take, make sure that you good long battery life. So we're going to break them both down, see what's best for you and your budget. The Stealth P12 on Amazon is about $65. The H45, Apeman H45 is somewhere around $41. So we're going to break them both down and see what you think. Alright, we're going to start here with the Stealth P12. Like I said, it has been around a few years, but the first thing that you do notice when you do see this camera, get this camera in your hands, is the quality build of it. You know, it's real sturdy. You can tell by the different detailed things that it is made well, made very solid. On the one thing that's impressive about this Stealth here is, you know, the clips. They make a very solid closure. To start out with the pros of this camera, like I said, starting off, the camera is a very solid build. It's got very good closures. It closes tight, doesn't leak, it is a very, very dependable camera. In case very good solid day pictures, very good solid night pictures. One thing that I'm most impressed about this camera is if we all have dealt with trail cameras in the past, or have we ever done it, we know that we get pictures of things sometimes that are not there. You kind of wonder why sometimes. The shutter speed on this is really good, very dependable. And I will show you a few things here that you can do as we get into our settings here. What I use is, and I believe most people would use, you get into your custom and you get into your date. I don't know if you can see that there, but we'll see if you got your date, you got your time that you can do, you got your mode, which is going to be your photo to video mode. You're going to have a delay mode, which is going to have long you want your, and in these things you're very limited on what you can do. You got a 5, you got a 120, you got a 60, 30, and a 15. Like I said, you're very limited on the things that you can do with these settings. You got a burst. The burst is good. It has up to 6 photos in your burst. You can choose from 1 all the way up to 6. I usually use 3. Video mode. So you can see that you are limited on your settings on this camera. But I will say that it is probably the most dependable camera that I've had out in the woods. Like I said, whenever you see that there's a photo there, there is something there normally. It runs about $65 on Amazon, US dollars. And one of the cons that we'll have on this camera is that it is bigger, it is heavier. Another disadvantage is the settings. You know, like for instance, the photo to video mode. You don't have a chance to shoot a photo and get a length of a 30-second or a minute video, and then your video selections on this camera are not very well. Don't have a viewfinder. You know, you have to physically pull this card or plug into it to see what's on it with the device. So that could be a disadvantage to you. But all in all, this camera is if you want a camera that is very dependable and that don't have to have a lot of options, this camera is going to be a very good solid camera to purchase. All right, we're going to move on to the Apeman H45. This camera, like I said, has been out a little while. There is a 55 and a 65. I know there are cameras that are up to 20 megapixel in the Apeman. You're not going to get them for the $40 that you can get this one for. If you were to buy this camera, I want you to make sure there's two models. There was when I bought them, and I'm not sure if there still is, but there was two models. The original H45 was a 12 megapixel camera, just like the Stealth P12 is. But since then they have had an upgrade, and they have made the H45 a 16 megapixel camera. But from the outside build of this, you can tell it is solid built. Probably not as solid built as the Stealth, but it is solid. It does have the camera mount on the bottom. It does have a standoff here, which I like because it allows moisture to get out from behind it, and it don't set on it. Because you have these out in the weather for months and months and months, you need that weather to get off of them and be able to dry. One thing that is not as good on this camera that is on the Stealth, that I think is basically the con of the whole thing, is the latch on here. You do not get as good a latch on this camera as you do with the Stealth. If there is a disadvantage right out of the box, or a con, that to me is a con, but it definitely is not a deal breaker, because the pros of this camera will outweigh that. As you open it up, as you can tell, you already have some advantage in this camera that you don't have with the other, is the onboard display. I think it's a 2.3 display. And the other thing is, here's your camera, or your battery bank. It's got 8 AA batteries, just like the other. Good solid clip, solid where it won't leak. And then the next thing about this camera is the settings. But of course, you go to menu here, and you get to your mode, and you select it, and it gives you your camera, video, and then your camera video mode. You just can select it. It gives you both the camera mode here. It gives you the picture size. This is where you can tell the difference what model you have, because this is 16 megapixel. This is the upgraded model. The other one just maxes out at 12. I always go to the highest setting. Your video size, you can go select that. I always go 1080p, so in case I want to use any footage for anything, it's going to be a good quality. Of course, it does use more data, so that if you want to go 720 just for being able to spot deer where they're coming or they're going, that would work for you as well. The picture number is just what picture number starts at on your file. Nothing big deal. Here's a cool setting that I like the most of this camera. It gives you a always go to 1 second time, and then if you scroll back, it gives you a 10-minute selection, 5-minute selection, a 3-minute selection, and then it goes to your seconds, which is 60 seconds. So it goes, you can customize it all the way up to a minute, and then you go from 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. So, like I said, I love the 10-second setting to be able to get my footage that I want. Gives me plenty intervals. This is where you get your 10-second intervals. I got 10 seconds in between times here. You can like go back to that. You can customize that, whatever you want. You know, it's down to the seconds. So I mean, it's just amazing what kind of settings you have. Password, I don't use that. I really don't get into that. Time stamped, of course, on. We want what time it is so we know what time our things are coming by, our deer coming by, our cameras. Time lapse off. Saving mode. I don't know English. Course language format. That's if you have trouble with your cards, you can format it in here. We're going to set our clock, of course, and set the default volume setting. Record, you can have a volume record setting where, and like I said, this audio on this thing is awesome. So I have it at normal, and it picks up the least little bit, so I can't even imagine what it would be with high. So I'm going to keep it at normal. And then video play volume, if you play back on this, you can volume. I'm not too worried about that because I don't use that too often. This camera sets itself apart with the low budget cameras, I think, because of the customized settings that it has. So go back over my cons are the clips here that do clip the door shut. They could be a little more quality. They could give you a little tighter fit. Pros for this is the customized ability that it has. It has the onboard LED screen that you can look through your photos if you want to. For the budget, I really don't think you can go wrong. Alright, I'm going to give my final thoughts on these cameras. The Stealth P12 and the Apeman H45. The Stealth is obviously a solid, dependable built camera. And if you're not worried about the options and the different settings, the size of them, you're not worried about the size, you're just worried about a good, solid, dependable camera that's going to give you photos of things out in the woods. This is a very good camera, and it may be your choice. The Aprman H45 is probably not as quality of a build as far as the exterior. Like I said, the only downfall is the clips on it that may hold the door shut. But if you can get past that, this is a camera that can give you all kind of different options out in the woods. I think they're both good cameras, and you will not go wrong with either one of them. And I will leave the description of both of these. You can get them both on Amazon. I will leave both of the description down in the comments so you can take a look at them, take a look at the specs yourself, and hope this video has helped you if you were on the teeter-totter or just looking for a new option for a low budget camera. Just like always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope this helped you out if you're looking for a low budget camera. I think both of these will be great for you. Give me a big, huge thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything I got coming in the future. And remember, always be careful.